Good morning, Andrea. Lovely to have you in studio.
Morning, Sally.
I absolutely love Bill Bryson. He is hilarious, and I really love the series of books that he's done that incorporate history. He's done the history of the world, and now he's looking at the body. He combines really important, useful information with a wonderful dose of humour, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and he's very well known for his travel writing. But he also, like you said, he does almost popular science type books like A Short History of Nearly Everything, and this is his latest one. He takes you on a journey the same way he would do on his travel books. And this one is about the body. So he talks about how we inhabit this warm blob of flesh, but we, like you said, we know very little about it and we don't really pay attention and we take it for granted. So this book really is about explaining to you why you should not take it for granted, why your body is incredible and why you should know more about it. He's got some incredible facts in here. I actually just want to read one or two for you because they really amazed me. So for example, your lungs, smoothed out, would cover a tennis court. All your blood vessels would take you 2.5 times around the earth.
Wow.
And your DNA is amazing. You've got 1 meter of it in every single cell. If you made that into one fine strand, yes, so it's obviously very small, but if you were to put it all together, you would stretch 10 billion miles all the way to Pluto. Is that not absolutely incredible?
It absolutely is. And what I love about Bill Bryson, it's clearly intensely researched, and he comes up with completely obscure things. Now, my husband happens to be reading this book at the moment, and I get regaled with snippets from this book at every available opportunity. And one of the things he was talking about is the section on the brain, which apparently we know very little about, very, very little indeed. And he started coming up, Bill Bryson was writing about all these obscure brain conditions that I had never heard of them. One, I think, was about someone who's alive, but they're convinced they are dead.
Yes.
They're convinced they're dead, but they're actually alive. That is a brain condition. That's an actual known thing. I mean, his research levels are quite phenomenal, aren't they?
I think it must have taken some time to write this book. I don't see how you could write this in a year, for example, because he interviewed a lot of people who are experts in certain fields. So, like you said, the brain or the endocrine system or the nervous system. So it's incredibly well researched, but at the same time it's so accessible.
Yes, exactly.
It's not meant for somebody, it's not a biology textbook. So it's not an academic writing. It's fascinating, so he gives examples of things. So it's not just you bombarded with a bunch of facts. He explains to you how people got to the conclusions that they did.
I think it should be a set work in biology, for example, because it's got so much important information, but as you say, it reads like a story, and it's an easy, wonderful read.
Absolutely. So, funny enough, I belong to an online book club, and someone was asking how they could get their teenage child, interested in biology because she was really struggling with it as a school subject. And this was the book that I recommended. I said, this will get you interested in the body because it's so fascinating.
Bill Bryson's latest offering, The Body, A Guide for the Occupant, and he's just so funny even in his titles. It's certainly one for the stocking this Christmas, I think.
Absolutely.
You've also been looking at another book, another non-fiction, called Guns, Germs and Steel. Tell me more.
So guns, germs and steel are the things that allowed certain groups of people to conquer the world. But Jared Diamond, this is actually a book, it was written in 1997, but it's been updated and republished because it was so, it won a Pulitzer Prize, and it was named as Time Magazine's, one of Time Magazine's best non-fiction books of all time, because it's just that good. So it looks a bit daunting, like
Let's take a look.
It's quite thick. And the print is rather small, but I don't think people should be intimidated by it.
It is quite a tome.
Because it is, it's very accessible again. So what it's about is we've often been asked or bombarded with statements about why certain races apparently didn't develop as far or as fast as others. And these are quite racist sayings.
Yes.
So Jared Diamond explores that and explains how this happened. It's not genetics. It's nothing to do with race. So one of the things that he highlights is the development of agriculture. And in Europe, for example, they had many animals to domesticate and help them with agriculture, and many plants that they could domesticate and then turn that into agriculture. And the moment that you developed agriculture, you would develop technology. But in Africa, for example, you had few to none animals to domesticate, few to none plants to domesticate, so it just didn't develop at the same rate. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that people are different genetically, or that other people are backward and couldn't develop anything. So it's really, really fascinating how something like agriculture, for example, propelled certain certain things in the world.
On the Bill Bryson scale of difficult subjects made easy and wonderful to read, how does Jared Diamond rate as a writer?
So it doesn't feel the same. I mean, he doesn't use humor in the same way that Bill Bryson does. But this book I couldn't put down because I was so fascinated by the subject matter. Because, like I said, we get bombarded by these statements that are incredibly racist and incredibly that we know can't possibly be true, but this explains to us why it possibly can't be true. But I do also think that it's accessible. I don't feel like I was reading a textbook or that it was too difficult for me to stay interested in.
That's two wonderful reads there. Thank you very much, Andrea van Wyk. And of course those books, Guns, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond, and Bill Bryson's latest offering, The Body, a guide for occupants.